Heavyweights are back in the building. Fox pay-per-view, May 1st. Yes, Chris Arreola, the Nightmare. Maybe one more run at the top here, Chris. You got Andy Ruiz Jr. in your future coming up May 1st. Big time fight. But for you at 40, brother, how does it feel to be back at the highest? I feel like I've written and talked to you and said, is this the last run? You got a lot of last runs in you, my man.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's weird that I'm still in the sport at the age of 40, but yet I don't feel 40. I don't feel like I'm an old man. I've had a couple breaks. I had 2 1-year breaks, 1 2-year breaks. So I feel okay. I feel refreshed. I feel all right, man. And not only that, I feel reinvigorated training with Joe Goosen, man. It's always fun being at the gym with him. It's always hard work, but he makes it fun, man. He makes it fun just talking crap and enjoying whatever time we have in the gym.
Well, I mean, let's start right there. You look like $1 million in all the interviews, the photo sessions I've seen. So you're certainly putting your best foot forward. You're getting another big opportunity here. You get a win, it could lead to massive things, but you're leaving no stone unturned. And Chris, to be honest, there's been times you fought, let's say, your weight or your motivation. Why right now, this camp, were you able to really put it all together?
It all goes back to my kids. I love my kids. I love my son. I love my daughter. And my son really doesn't know what daddy does. He knows that I fight, but he doesn't realize that it's like at a top elite competition. And my daughter, I just got to show her that you can't quit on yourself. Plain and simple, you can't quit on yourself. Because once you quit on yourself, then no one's going to believe on you. No one's going to give a crap about you. They're just going to put you to the wayside, be like, all right, well, there goes Arreola. See you later. But nah, man, now I got to just work hard and put my best foot forward and teach and show everyone that I'm still a heavyweight to be reckoned with. I'm still a fighter to be reckoned with. And the past is the past. And here's the current Chris Arreola, a hardworking Chris Arreola.
Well, I guess in your favor, Chris, is that the heavyweight division's always been so fun, so wild, that age has never really been a factor, from George Foreman to whomever. I mean, certainly 40 can be the new 30 nowadays with training methods and diet plans and vitamins and everything that's great to keep you young. But do you feel like as a heavyweight that you feel as good right now as maybe you did 10 years ago?
Absolutely. You know what's crazy? It's working hard makes a world of difference. Not taking a day off or not taking a day off of the gym makes a world of difference, especially when you're working hard with someone like Joe. Joe doesn't give you no time off. As far as when you're in the gym, you're working period, because he's constantly is eagle eyes on you. He may be talking, but he's still watching you. And the crazy thing is that I love it. I enjoy it. I enjoy working with Joe. I enjoy working hard to show Joe that he's doing a great job himself.
We love Joe. Love his work as a broadcaster on Fox. Maybe the best dresser we've ever seen in boxing history. I mean, I know he's an old dude now, but that hair's still flowing, Chris. You getting any style tips from this guy?
Nah, I'm the one getting style tips from him, man. I ain't gonna lie. I love that Joe's such a vain person. It's awesome. Like people ask him, like, are you gonna be like that when you're old? I'm like, I sure as hell hope so. I hope I'm like Joe when I get old. He's a fun guy. He's super fun, and at the end of the day, we work hard and enjoy each other's time.
Talk about the thought process in bringing Joe in. I mean, I'm trying to rack my brain. If you guys worked together before, I feel like you have. What's the history there? The first time?
Well, we got together with the Kaunaki fight. Before that, we just talked here and there. And, I known him because of Dan. Dan Goosen was my promoter. And I've known him since we started. And it's always been a fun conversation with him. It's always good talking to him. But the reason I chose Joe, one of the main reasons was because I remember watching the fight with Diego Corrales versus Castillo.
Yes.
I remember the way Joe was in the corner. I remember him. You better get your ass inside him now. You know what I mean? Like, tough love. You know what I mean? What kind of trainer tells him, what the fuck? Get the fuck up in there. Joe does because Joe believed in him, and that's what I need. I needed someone like him in my corner, and I'm lucky and I'm fortunate that not only he's on my corner and also I've known him so many years. It feels like we're keeping everything in the family with the Goosen family.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And obviously, as you mentioned, Joe will get in there. He'll get you to be your very best. He's a fun offensive coach. You're going to go out there and let your hands go. But that's what Chris Arreola always does. And, you know, you've had such a fun career, Chris, from fighting Klitschko for the, you know, Vitaly Klitschko for the world title. You got a chance against Deontay. You've been in there with the best of the best over almost 2 to 3 heavyweight eras. Win or lose here, are you happy with the career you've had? Because you've made so many great fights, but has it been as, let's say, title heavy and, you know, as you would have wanted? How do you sort of sit with the canopy that you've painted over the past couple decades?
You know what's crazy is that even if I didn't come in shape, I always gave my all in every one of my fights. You know, if I got my nose broke, I'm still gonna keep fighting. I love my legacy. I love what I've done in the sport of boxing. Could have won the other fights? Sure, I could have, but I didn't, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with at least fans got a good show. You know, the fans enjoyed the fight, and if they didn't, if they lost some money, I apologize because I always get that. I get a lot of those come up to me like, "Man, bro, I lost so much money on you." I was like, "Well, shouldn't have bet."
Well, you've always been a fun fighter because you push the pace in the action, but you wear your heart on your sleeve. So whether it's an F-bomb filled interview or look, you had tears in your eyes, your first title opportunity when you lost to Vitaly Klitschko. When you go and look back and you see those interviews replayed, you know, what do you think? You know, you're just a guy who's just living it. You're putting it right out there on the camera.
I really try not to watch those because I get embarrassed at my damn self. I'm like, oh my God, you're crying on TV. What's wrong with you? One of my favorite comments after that interview was like, I told someone like, man, I got suspended from the WBC for cursing on TV. They're like, cursing? They heard you cursing over all that crying? Oh shit. So you know what? It's fun. It's fun. It's definitely fun.
All right, you got Andy Ruiz Jr. in your sights. Big fight, obviously. I know the storyline is tailored. You know, if Andy can stay in shape and put it back all together, he could have giant things ahead of him in the future. You've known this guy since what? You guys were, you know, since he was a teenager, since you were very young in Southern California boxing circles. What has been your opinion of Andy's own ups and downs from, you know, having his own weight issues to upsetting AJ to going in the wrong direction again with his shape? We know he's thin again now, but, you know, what has been your opinion of his career?
Honestly, I have nothing but respect for him and his career. You know, I personally I understand what happened with him and AJ too. I get it. You know, think about it. You know, he fought the Russian kid before he fought AJ, right? A week later, he gets that call to fight AJ. He was already in shape. He was in great shape. Next thing you know, he's fighting AJ 5 weeks later after a fight. I don't know what he made his first fight before that, but I'm sure he made a lot more money when he fought AJ. I believe he made like $4 million. And then he gets like $10 million plus to fight AJ again. I don't blame him. I don't blame him for going crazy. I don't blame him for enjoying life. He should. But now it's a new Andy. So now we're about to see what kind of Andy it is, because you know, Andy should know better than anyone else that muscles don't win you a fight. Your boxing skills win your fight. His boxing skills will won him the fight against AJ, not the fact that he has muscles or anything like that. You know, because if he would have came in the same kind of shape, the second AJ fight, he probably would have won that fight. He could have been another fat kid that beat AJ twice. But we'll see what kind of fighter comes this fight against me. Either way, I'm ready for whatever comes.
You know, I've read that you guys sparred a long time ago. What had been sort of the history of you guys crossing paths on the boxing scenes?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I want to say he was probably like 17, 18 years old. And Henry tells me at the time was Henry Ramirez was my trainer. He goes, "Hey, we have this kid from Mexicali coming down to spar." And I asked him, like, "Mexicali? There's heavyweights in Mexico?" He goes, "Yeah. There's some kid. Well, he's coming down." I'm like, all right. So he shows up, and I was like, "Wait, I'm sparring that fat kid?" He goes, "Yeah, you're sparring him, the fat one." Yeah. So I get in the ring with this fat Andy, and honestly, don't judge a book by cover. I think that's what Andy did. AJ did also. I think he judged the book by the cover. He seen a fat kid and he thought he couldn't do anything. Boy, was he and was I mistaken. He had fast hands. He hit hard. He had heart, and which more important, he had balls. Because in the third round, we got in a heated exchange, and his dad goes, "Hey, chill." And then Andy himself goes, "No, Dad, we're working hard." And we just kept banging it out. And that's when I knew that he was going to be a heavyweight to be reckoned with. Not only that, I figured one day me and him are going to meet.
It's kind of crazy that you haven't met, that you're at this point in your career, at your age, where you're meeting him for the first time. Yet, here's the deal. This is a pay-per-view fight. It wasn't overly well received by boxing fans and media at the announcement of it, saying, okay, maybe that fight will be good, but on pay-per-view, I'm not sure. Do you think, though, this is going to lull people into almost like all right, I'll watch it, and then you put Andy Ruiz and Chris Arreola together? I can't see that fight being bad. I mean, I feel like you're only going to win people over by once you guys touch gloves in round one and let your hands go.
Yeah, exactly. There's those people that be like, "Man, that's not a pay-per-view fight." I'll tell them, don't fucking buy it. I'm serious. I'm like, if you don't want to watch it, don't buy it. But don't come at me later on and be like, "Man, that was an awesome fight." I'm like, yeah, I know it was an awesome fight. And that being said, man, I know it's gonna be fireworks. I know we're gonna give fans what they need. We're gonna give the fans what they want. An old school, rock'em sock'em heavyweight fight. And my goal is to come out with my hand raised.
Well, you're in the great shape as well as he, so this should be fun. When you heard and saw that he was teaming up with the great young rising trainer, not young anymore, Eddie Reynoso in the Canelo camp, did that change your opinion on what version you're going to see when he comes out May 1st?
No, in all honesty, I'm expecting a great Andy Ruiz, period. I was expecting a great Andy, period. His old coach is not a bad coach. There's nothing wrong with his old coach. I forget his name, but he's a very good coach.
Manny Robles.
Manny Robles, yeah, he's a very good coach. So regardless whether it was Manny Robles or Eddie, I knew that they were going to have him ready. The difference between Manny and Eddie is that it seems like Andy's putting more respect to Reynoso than he did to Robles.
Yeah, certainly. For you, we already know what's at stake from the standpoint of you get a win here. I mean, it's a great time to be a heavyweight. You could be fighting, any one of the giant names after this, but there's not a title at stake in this one, a major one. And it seems like that had always been the thing that you were chasing to put that flag down on the moon of your career and sort of, say, I did it. I made it here. What is your motivation for this one? Because there's no title at stake in terms of what this will mean for your career.
It just keeps my career going. It gives me more hope to get that title shot. That's one of the main things. And also, it just, for once, I'll be the man that beat the man. You know what I mean? And it kind of puts a stake on the Mexicans, on us, on my side. Be like, well, I guess Chris was the better heavyweight. That's what I'm planning to do. And I'm planning to turn Andy Ruiz into a Buster Douglas.
Wow. Love those kind of words. All right, let's talk about the venue. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. This is at Dignity Health Sports Park, the old StubHub. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's a beautiful venue.
Well, dude, we call that the I don't know, the war grounds, the den of thunder, whatever the hell you want to call it. Is there like some special magic in the air when two fighters of any weight class, you know, Marquez and Vasquez, Tim Bradley and Provodnikov? I know you've fought there before. What is it with that little old ass tennis arena that just makes magic?
You know what? There's not a bad seat in the house, you know? So it feels like the fans are more into the fight because they're not missing anything. You could be sitting on the top of the seats. Actually, that's my favorite place to look at to watch the fights. Every time I go to the fights and go watch them, even though I got floor seats, I get my ass up there and watch it with the fans because it's a nice view. There's beer, the nice cold beer out there. So, you know, it's gonna be a rowdy crowd. It's gonna be a rowdy night. And fans love boxing. That's one thing about the Hispanic community, the boxing community. You know, they're not the richest people, but when they come to a fight, they're expecting to get their money's worth. And that's exactly what I'm there to do.
You haven't fought since the pandemic broke out. So your last fight was that absolute war with Adam Kovnatsky, which was a great fight. So you haven't had to do the empty arena thing. We're gonna have fans here, but you know that demographic you're talking about, the hardworking Southern California Mexican American boxing fan. How important is it going to be for those guys that this fight is going to be back in a venue where we can get the noise and the energy there?
It's very important, man. You know, there's nothing like watching anything live, any live event. It's awesome, but especially when it's a boxing event, when it's two people that really want to win. You know, I don't hate Andy. I have nothing but respect for Andy. And for that reason alone, I am working my ass off because I respect him. And I respect my fans and I respect boxing so much that I want to give them a great show. That being said, you know, on the first is going to be fireworks.
Can't wait. Can't wait for this indeed. What's your family and your team's response to this opportunity? Because again, it kind of came a little bit out of nowhere for you where pay-per-view main event, let's do it. Are they hoping it's your last fight? Are they hoping it's a big one and it puts you in the title fight? What's your team saying?
My daughter sure as heck doesn't want it to be my last fight. My son, he doesn't care. He's just whatever. Where are we gonna go on vacation after this? Do I get to go on a Disney cruise now or what? But Joe's very ecstatic. He's ready for this fight to break out, and he's ready for what comes next. You know, he's already like thinking ahead of what fights would be best for me. And that being said, whoever comes next, I know it's going to be a tall person, taller than Andy. So I'm going to be ready. I'll be ready. But first thing first, we got to beat Andy. Because if we don't beat Andy, none of those fights are possible.
Well, we don't know who's going to win the fight. We do know, you know, you put the ingredients in the bowl. This is going to turn into magic. It's going to be action. It's going to be fun. You've authored or co-authored so many of these great fun fights. What is that experience like when you're in a slobber knocker and you got blood, you got the fans going ape shit, you got people at home covering their face and their eyes? What is that rush like in the midst of that?
Honestly, I love it, man. I love the smell of the other guy's Vaseline because we're like so close. I could smell their Vaseline. I could smell the cologne. Sometimes I could taste their blood. You could. It's just visceral, very, very, very just a lot of testosterone flowing in the ring, and I love it. I live for it, man. They call me morbid, but to me, it's fun. There's nothing more fun than to be in the ring with somebody. And especially after the fight, you know, you shake hands and chop it up as another day of the office. And that's my office. And I love my office. And I want to take care of my office and I want to come out with my hand raised after.
What's the moment in your career that you're most proud of?
Fighting 9 rounds with a broken nose. That makes me very proud because even though I lost that fight,
we're talking Stavern, right? The first
yes,
Stavern?
the first Stavern, he broke my nose in the 3rd round, and I went 12 rounds with the broken nose. That means 9 rounds with the broken nose. And the reason I did is because I wanted to win. My will to win is unmatched. I'm willing to go through hell. I don't understand when boxers get a little bloody nose and they want to quit. They just mess up their hand and they want to quit. There's no quitting me. You know, I give my fans everything. I give the sport of boxing myself. I put my life on the line, literally and figuratively, and I love it. I honestly do.
When do you think the moment was when you realized that? I'm not even talking about the moment that you realize your boxing skills were maybe good enough to go pro, but the moment you realize that maybe you're cut from a different cloth. Maybe we just heard you eloquently summarize why you love this violent game so much. When was that moment where you're like, you know what, I am different than that guy down the street or the other kids in class?
Honestly, when I was about 7, 8 years old, when I would get in the ring and I would get my ass kicked. You know, they would kick my ass. I'll be bleeding, and I just kept coming and coming and coming, and I never cried. And then I would go home, and I would be playing marbles, and my nose would start bleeding, and I would start crying. And I'm like, why am I crying now? But when I'm in the ring, I'm not crying. It's just a different beast. I'm a different person. I love the violence.
You were born for this, and May 1st, Fox pay-per-view. That's Saturday night. We can't wait to see it when you take on Andy Ruiz Jr. Fireworks expected. Chris Arreola, whether we do this again or not, I just want to tell you, covering your career has been an absolute joy. It's always a fun time to talk with you and to pick your brain. So I appreciate that, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate you.